Good morning, children. Today's thought: every moment is precious. To waste a moment is to hurt the heart of humanity. By Dada J.P. Vaswani. Lesson 7: The Wonderful Weaver. Learning objectives: to be able to acquire new vocabulary and use them in sentences, to identify the characters and events in the story, learn to be humble. New vocabulary with meanings. Spin, make thread from wool, cotton, etc. Yarn, the thread used for making cloth. Boost, an act of talking with pride, self praise. Loom, a machine for making cloth. Spindle, a pointed, thin piece of wood used for spinning wool into thread by hand. Marvelous, amazing, mingled, mixed. Weeping, crying. Spear, a weapon with one sharp end. Merrily, quick and active. Characters in the story: Archene, Athena, Jupiter, the king of gods. There was a young girl in Greece whose name was Archene. Her face was fair, her eyes were big and blue, her hair was long and gold. She loved to sit in the sun and spin from morning till noon. From noon till night, she would sit in the shade and weave. And oh, how fine and fair were the things which she wove in her loom. Flax, silk, she worked with them all, and the cloth which she had made of them was thin and soft and bright, that men came from all parts of the world to see it, and they said that the cloth was so rare that it was not made of flax or wool or silk, but the rays of the sunlight were woven together with threads of gold. Flax means a plant whose stalk is used to make cloth. Every day the girl sat in the sun and spun, or sat in shade and wove. She said, "In all the world there is no yarn so fine as mine, and, and in all the world there is no cloth so soft and smooth, nor silk so bright and rare." Yarn means the thread used for making cloth. Who taught you to spin and weave so well? Someone asked. No one taught me, she said. I learned how to do it as I sat in the sun and the shade. No one showed me, but it may be that Athena, the queen of air, taught you, and you did not know it. Athena, the queen of air, said Archene. How could she teach me? Can she spin or weave goods like mine? I should like to see her try. I can teach her a thing or two. As she finished saying this, she looked up and saw in the doorway a tall woman wrapped in a long cloak. Archene, said the woman, I am I am Athena, the queen of air, and I have heard you boast. Do you still mean to say that I am not taught you how to spin and weave? No one has taught me, said Archene. I thank no one for what I know. She stood up. straight and proud, by the side of a loom. Boost means an act of talking with pride, self pride. And do you still think that you can spin and weave as well as I? Said Athena. Archimedes' cheeks grew pale, but she said, yes, I can weave as well as you. Then let me tell you what we will do, said Athena. 3 days from now, we will both weave. You on your loom and I on mine. We will ask all the world to come and see us, and great Jupiter, the king of gods, shall be the judge. And if your work is best, then I will weave no more, so long as the world shall last. But if my work is best, then you shall never use loom or spindle or distaff. Do you agree to this? Said Archine. Loom, a machine for making cloth. Spindle, a pointed, thin piece of wood used for spinning wool into thread by hand. Distaff, a wooden tool used for holding the wool or flax from which thread is spun. The day of the contest came. Archine had set up her loom in the shade of a mulberry tree, but Athena had set up her loom in the sky. She was the queen of air. Then Archine took her yarns to the finest silk and began to weave. She wove a web of marvelous beauty, so thin and light that would float in the air, and yet so strong that it could hold a lion in its meshes, and the threads were of many colors, so beautifully arranged and mingled one with another that all who saw were filled with delight. No wonder that the maiden boasted of her skill, said the people, and Jupiter himself nodded. Mulberry means a tree with broad leaves and juicy berries. Marvelous, amazing. Meshes, the small gaps between the strands in a cloth. Mingled, mixed. Maiden, a young girl or woman who is not married. Then Athena began to weave, and she took of the sunbeams that glided the mountain top, and of the snowy fleece of the summer cloud, and of the blue ether of the summer sky, and of the bright green of the summer fields, and of the royal purple of the autumn woods. Sunbeams means sun rays, glided, covered with a golden shade, fleece, woolly covering, autumn, the season between summer and winter, which leaves change color, woods, forest. The web which she wove in the sky was full of enchanting pictures of flowers and gardens, and castles and towers, and of mountain heights, and of men and beasts, and of giant and doves. And those who looked upon it were so filled with wonder and delight that they forgot all about the beautiful web which Archine had woven. Oh, how can I live? Archine cried, now that I must never again use loom or spindle or distaff. Beast, animals. And she kept on weeping and saying, how can I live? Then, when Athena saw that the poor maiden would never have any joy unless she were allowed to spin and weave. She took pity on her and said, I would free you if I could, but that is a thing which no one can do. You can never touch a loom or spindle again. And yet, since you will never be happy unless you can spin and weave, I will give you a new form so that you can carry on your work without spindle or loom. Weeping means crying, took pity on, felt sorry for. Then she touched Akini with the tip of the spear which she sometimes carried, and the maiden was changed at once into a nimble spider, which ran into a shady place in the grass and began merrily to spin and weave a beautiful web. Spear means a weapon with one sharp end, nimble, quick, and active, merrily in a happy way. Arkini still lives and spins and weaves, and the very next spider that you see may be Arkini.